Hello and welcome to another edition of Brexit Reality with me, Graham Hughes. Hello, how you doing? Who have I got? I've got John. Hi, John. I've got Graham. I've got another Graham. Hello, Graham. Hello, John. Welcome. Oh, I've got Jolin. Aloha and Prost. Yes, thank you. I don't really have a beer tonight. I've just got a cup of tea. That's all right. So it is Tuesday, the 2nd of February, 2021. Put the mic a little bit closer. So obviously the UK has had some pretty bad news today, that in all of the COVID carnage that's been happening over the last the last year. Today we lost Captain Tom Moore, who was a 100-year-old war veteran who walked 100 miles in his back garden for charity. And he raised £33 million for the National Health Service. And he died with coronavirus. He died with the virus that Julia Heartless Brewer thinks we shouldn't be worried about. The one that Alison Pearson says we're overreacting to. The one that Lawrence Fox says, well, I just want to go and give people a hug. God knows who'll actually want to hug Lawrence Fox, but he just wants to have people around for Christmas and give them a hug. And the people telling him he can't do that are all just, I don't know, bastards trying to stop him having fun. And it seems mad that after so many people have died, after 100,000 people have died in the United Kingdom from COVID, that one death should actually have a greater impact than all those deaths put together. But this guy became almost like the face of the fight back against COVID, plucky British spirit. And the virus won. The virus got him. And according to someone who's as horrific as Julia Hartley Brewer, Captain Tom doesn't matter. He doesn't count because he's over 60 and he had underlying health problems, pre-existing health problems. It wasn't included in that tweet that she sent out saying only 300 people had died of COVID. No, real people. Only 300 real people. That's people who aren't over the age of 60 or with underlying health problems. Yeah, she's doing fine. She's got a new gig on GB News with her mate Andrew Neil, the shoe licker in chief, the fawning sycophant of the Tory party. He just wants to come on the TV and read out their press releases. What a nice chap. What a gobshite. I've got Stefan saying hi. I've got Bayerberg saying morning. Evening. Thomas Page saying, yeah, he was old, so he doesn't count. Daffyd says, evening mortals. Hi, Daffyd. Can you hear me through your microphone? Can you hear me? Good. I've got John's just saying there's a lamppost outside my house that wouldn't want to be hugged by Fox. I think he's making a reference to Mussolini, maybe. Adrian Wilson there said NHS shouldn't be a charity, but it was great that Tom Moore helped fund what the Tories don't want to do. That's true. Just Shoes, as I said, he was aiming further up. That's from John. Well, yeah, it's a bit early in the podcast, you see, in the live cast. These aren't podcasts, are they? The live cast is different. Yeah, it's a bit early to be saying sweary words because Facebook. No, the other one, YouTube. YouTube actually asks you if there's any swearing in the first 5 minutes of your video, and if there is, you have to select a different advertising thing. Yes, it happens. The Good Law Project fighting for democracy tomorrow. Let's hope they get somewhere. Yeah. Sorry, my mic sometimes goes towards me. It's not supposed to do that. Um, howdy. I've got Christian from Denmark. Hi, and I've got Chris Nil saying howdy. So tonight I want to mostly talk about Northern Ireland. So Northern Ireland is the result of almost like 1,000 years of, at least 900 years of English meddling in Ireland. And this started not with the English, funnily enough, but with the Normans. So this goes back to not quite Henry, not quite William the Conqueror, but almost. The Normans said, "Oh, we want to take over Ireland as well," and they did to some extent. They didn't really take it all over. They said they did, and they called it the Lordship of Ireland. So if you were the King of England, you also had the Lordship of Ireland, even though there were vast swathes of Ireland that you didn't have any power over whatsoever. And then Henry VIII came along, and that really put a fly in the ointment, because he decided he wanted to marry the wench, what he was knocking, and so he decided to change the religion of what became the UK, at least of England, and as a result of that, Ireland, which was Catholic, said, "Well, we want to stay Catholic," and so that was, and it became it became part of the kingdom. So if you were the King of England, you were also the King of Ireland automatically somehow. Anyway, so without going into like the whole details of the history of the English's nuttiness in and horror shows that were put on in Ireland, big ones obviously being Cromwell when he became Lord Protector. He ran around Ireland killing everyone who he thought looked at him funny. And then a bit later on, when our rightful king, James II, was deposed by Parliament, and they asked this other king called William III to come over from Holland and be our king instead. "Hey, what you doing?" "Oh, I'm just sitting here in me stad. I'm a stadholder." "Oh, could you be our king?" "Okay, I'll come over and be your king." And that was the Glorious Revolution of 1688. That was a long time ago. Anyway, basically, he went over to Ireland and had a big fight with James II, and I think that's the Battle of the Boyne, isn't it? So basically, all the people who are very British and they think they're very British and they live in Northern Ireland and they run around with British flags and screaming how British they are. They don't seem to get the fact that their ancestors were fighting on behalf of William of Orange, as in the part of the Netherlands, not London, not England, not Britain, but whatever. Anyway, so then we had but Ireland was supposed to kind of do its own thing, kinda. But then we had the Act of Union for Scotland and England, and then about 100 years later we had the Act of Union for Ireland as well. So Ireland and Scotland and England were all run by the Parliament in London, and the three crowns were all united, and in 1801 our Jack became a Union Jack. Yeah, and that lasted for about 120 years until the Irish Free State, when the majority of Ireland said, "Screw this, we want to be free. We don't want to be ruled by the British anymore, by the English, I should say." And so they what we did was we had a vote, and we decided that we would separate off the bits that voted to stay with us. So imagine if we had had a vote to leave some kind of, I don't know, bigger union than ourselves, and the union that we were trying to pull ourselves away from said, "Hey, hang on, Scotland voted Remain, Northern Ireland voted Remain, Liverpool voted Remain, we're going to keep them. All right, let's just draw a line around them, we'll keep them." And the mad thing is that Ireland is split into four, isn't it? It's split into four regions, and each one of those is split up into into counties. So it's and the counties in Ulster, there's 9 of them. 6 of them are in the UK, and 3 of them are in the Republic of Ireland now. So it's just a crazy situation. And we had the Troubles in the 1960s and 70s, which is, putting it mildly, I mean, over 1,000 people died, violent deaths in this struggle for more rights for Catholics in Northern Ireland. And also the Irish government at the time had it in their constitution that they ruled the whole of Ireland. They had a claim over the whole of Ireland, much like Venezuela has a claim over a huge chunk of Guyana, and Guatemala has a claim over a huge chunk of Belize claims. But and then so that led up to 1998, and I was 19 in 1998. So I'd grown up with the bombings. I'd grown up with these. It seemed like every few weeks there'll be a bomb went off somewhere and people died. And it was scary, especially when a bomb went off in Warrington, really close to where a lot of people who have Irish ancestors possibly live. Descendants, i.e. Liverpool. And then we had the Good Friday Agreement talking about, obviously, because it's been 7 years since their last referendum and things have changed a lot. Border polls should be held in 2028, says Bertie Ahern, the former Taoiseach. That's from Daffyd. Sugarfree says, hello, everyone. Hello. Jolyn says, let that BT box be connected. It's still here. It's not connected yet. It's just on my desk. It will be connected tomorrow, I hope, but it's like a foot of snow out there, so and age to live in a house with other people and you're in lockdown and you tell them don't go on the internet for an hour because our internet just can't handle it. But hopefully this should be the last. I'm saying this now, but this should be the last time I get buffered. But we will see. Okay, so I'll jump back into the messages here. This is a shame, really, isn't it? Says Sugar-Free. Yeah. I did think that amount of curses in half the time. Says John. Am I baba-barring? We'll have a sing-along. I blame those bots chasing PS5s. What? Troubles in Northern Ireland stream. John and Jolly Fingers. I think the curses roll up the tongue so much more smoothly. Pick the song, Job. What? I don't know what people are talking about. Lack of government investment in fast broadband. Wonder if Graham is wishing Corbyn won with his broadband policy. Yeah, that was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? He had a policy to give broadband to rich people who could already afford broadband. I mean, if it had been free broadband for people who can't afford broadband, I would have gone, wow, that's a good socialist policy. But he just went, no, we'll give it to everyone. When I go on about UBI, I'm not expecting to be given millionaires £11,500 a year. It's just, it's not going to happen. The system will be set up so if you don't need the money, you don't get it. Effectively, it's just the first one, 11,500 that you earn, you don't get taxed on. Oh, that's what happens anyway. Oh well, there you go. Use your phone 4G. I could use my phone actually. Graham is using all the bandwidth on chat channels. I don't think so. I've only got the one on. I suppose they'll come into the one place, don't they? How's it going now? Are you getting me better now, or Boris Johnson is on the bandwidth? Sorry, Boris Johnson on the bandwidth of the chat channels. Pob's evil brother says business should absorb the Brexit-related costs dealing with Northern Ireland. Yes. Well, Evil Pob has also, this is Michael Gove, has also admitted to the shellfish industry that they're absolutely buggered. Like, they're so buggered. Like, they're just not going to survive this. He lied about the fact that the EU would give them some kind of special dispensation to sell their shellfish in the EU, and the EU said, "What? You can't promise that on our behalf. Are you mad?" And so, no fresh shellfish from the UK is going to be sold in the EU until we rejoin the EU. Frozen stuff, yeah, we can freeze it, but that fetches a much lower price. It's not as, and the problem is with fishing, as with agriculture, there's a million things that can go wrong. You can go out on a catch and not catch anything. Things can go wrong. You can come back. Someone could injure themselves on the boat. You have to come back. You catch no fish that day. The conditions are bad. There's a storm. You don't catch any fish that day. So for such an industry that can be so volatile, the one thing that it needs more than anything is a safe and predictable market, a way to get the produce off to market and to get people to pay for it and it all to be cool and groovy. But, it's gone. It's gone. And the government's given like 23 million to people to keep them going for a few months, but their businesses have gone. The industry is gone. The fishing villages will be gone. Well, they'll be still there, I guess, but they'll be bought up as second homes for the Tories and their rich millionaire mates. David says, Graham, you can knock the quality down to 720p, which should help. Yeah, then you probably won't be able to read the letters on here though. Look, it's fine. Tomorrow I'm getting new internet. Okay, I'm really sorry. I just, I didn't expect this to be something I ended up doing every day. I thought it would just be a one-off, but here I am. Graham, do you realise we lost you for over 5 minutes? Yes, I know, Kevin. I get a little warning thing comes up on my laptop to tell me that my signal's not getting through. So I put the Brexit reality splash screen up for a little bit while ago. Ran around the house turning everything off. Chrisnell says, Brexit is here for good. It's the new normal. How can the government compensate fishing and farming? It can't. Chrisnell, but I mean, you say it's the new normal. It's actually the old normal. This is the way it used to be. It used to be hard to trade with other countries. It still is hard to trade with other countries if you're not in a trade union with them, or you don't have a free trade agreement that covers everything. And back to Northern Ireland. So Northern Ireland is in the single market, kinda. It's in the single market for goods. It's not in the single market for services, which is something like 80% of all of our GDP. The withdrawal agreement and the subsequent trade deal do nothing for services whatsoever. Nothing at all. So if you think that the fishermen have got it a bit rough, they're a tiny part of our overall economy. Services are going to get absolutely battered. They already are. And as I mentioned last night, Ireland and Britain have seen a fall in trade by 50%. 50%. That's like a drop you don't normally see unless there's a bloody war declared between the two states that have that much of a drop off in 1 month. 1 month, trade down by 50%. And these lemons pointing at Anglesey and at Dover and saying, oh, look, you said there was going to be huge queues of lorries. Where are all the lorries, eh? Yeah, where are all the lorries? That's a very good question. There should be thousands of them, and there's about 24. That should be raising alarm bells, because it means that stuff that we make in this country, that we try and sell abroad, and we have to pay people to make them, and we have to pay for the raw materials, we have to pay for the skills, we have to pay for the transport. It's not getting out the country. It's not getting to the people it's supposed to get to. And one of the big problems in Northern Ireland at the moment is that their food is supposed to be coming from the UK, but because it's all getting held up at the port, the officials at the port are now getting threats. And they've been told in one port to actually pull out and stop checking things coming from the UK. Kevin Hegarty says, Graham, most trucks returning from the EU are empty. Yep. Jim Bob says, hang in there. Thanks, Jim Bob. Appreciate it. Mikey says, I'm getting 240p. Yeah, that sounds about right. No, he's talking about the quality of the picture. Not great. Sorry, need to teach the British to eat their own. Fucking selfish, like the healthier European cousins. Chop produce and the fuckwits here don't eat. Somebody wrote today something about us having a trade deal with Greenland so we can get Greenland's fish. Just bonkers. And it's like, you do know that Greenland, although it's sort of a semi-autonomous place with a population of 70,000 or something. I mean, it's a tiny population. Greenland is still part of Denmark, which is part of the EU. Just saying. I'm sure the EU tried to do a really good deal that screwed the rest of the UK over in the Isle of Man, for instance, which wasn't part of the EU. The British would say something. And this is coming back to this whole vaccine row that started last week. So you've got to understand the history about this vaccine thing. So the EU said we want to put an order in for 120. I think it was 120 million doses. And in the end, AstraZeneca's gone, we can only supply 31 million. And they're like, but you've offered more to the UK. And AstraZeneca's like, well, yeah, because they asked for them first. The reality is the UK is paying 7 times more than the EU for those vaccines. So AstraZeneca's got a hell of a motivation to supply more vaccines to the UK, which it seems at the end of the day, some vaccines are actually going in the bin rather than being, used. Stories like that really freak me out. I'm just like, why? Just get people in, just ring people up in the area and say, we have got 5 vaccines left over. They're going to run out tonight. We can't use them tomorrow. Please come in and get them in your arm. But we don't seem to be doing that. Maybe we are. Don't know. Leave a note in the comments. Sugarfree says, so stupid to separate goods and services. There are so many services tied to goods. Yeah. It's the way it used to be back in the good old days, says Thomas Page. Yeah, back in the good old days of rationing and when homosexuality was illegal and the death penalty was okay, but we accidentally killed the wrong person now and again. Whoopsie. It's financial services. Graham, most trucks are returning from the EU are empty. Yeah, I said that one. A lot tied in together. DFDS adding another big Ropax ferry to the Rosalie. Is it Rosa? I don't know how to say that. Dunkirk route. It's probably like Rosalie or something. If someone knows how to say that properly, please write it in the bottom because I don't want to make too much of an arse of myself. How do you phonetically pronounce the Irish town of Rosleur? Because it's definitely not spelled like it's not definitely not pronounced like that. David says more than a quarter of Greater Manchester companies saying Brexit is having a negative impact. I'm amazed it's so few, actually, David. I mean, I suppose if you're a hairdresser, it's not going to have so much of a deal. But if you're trading anything, I just can't see how it can't have an impact. Roslair. Okay, Roslair. All right. Sorry, I was just thinking like Dunleary, which is not spelt Dunleary at all. It just... Okay, don't look at me like that. You're sounding a bit croaky, Graham. Yeah, I've got a really, really sore throat. Thanks for noticing. I need to get on the lockets, man. I need to get on the tunes. Uh, John BC says it's not an EU blanket ban on UK shellfish, as stated in the press. It's the extra cost and lack of live shellfish cleansing filtration systems that have put spanner in the works. Well, yeah, John, the devil's in the detail, isn't it? And one of the problems was they needed to get particular certificates, phytosanitary certificates, and they're really hard to get. By the way, this is from Bayerberg. By the way, let's have a moment of quiet reflection on our hard-earned money, which will be used to subsidise the fishing industry, hauliers, cheese producers, small businesses, large businesses, banks, and he's put ... But what about the friends of the Tory party? You know, friends of Tory. They're doing all right out of this, aren't they? Out of our money. Kevin Hegarty says, we were just waiting for you, lol. He's talking to Bayerberg. Greater Manchester, 25% of biz tar. Hi there. Don't forget, the Freckle Punies here. Hello. Don't forget the rolling power cuts and the 3-day week. Oh, yeah, they were great. Are you talking about the 1970s, John? When we had everything was orange and brown and acrylic or polyester, and everything we built was shit. Just literally everything built everywhere in the world in the 70s was objectively shit. It's amazing. It's quite amazing that you could just have that length of time and just absolutely nothing good be constructed in that whole period. And don't at me about Sydney Opera House. I've already spoken about that one. Sugar Free says, one of my relatives was helping at a vaccination centre. There was some left at the end of the day. The volunteers got the jab. That's really good, Sugar Free. Dunleary says, Anthony Langdon. That's how you pronounce Roslaire. Andy McAvoy says, no worries, we're here to translate, mate. Thank you, Andy. Kevin says, haha, spot the Irish. Alex Morgan says, League reveals Labour plan to focus on flag and patriotism to win back voters. Glad Labour are focusing on the important issues facing the UK. Yeah. A face palm emoji. John BC says, but cheap shoes for poor people. This is what Rees Mogg said. Andy McAvoy says, it's like the Irish version of the German saying good look. I can't say that. G-Span 67, never mind about preventing the spread of COVID and all those deaths. We just spend 7 times more for a vaccine. Yeah, but that's the thing, because people only remember the end of the story. So if the vaccine is successful and it does stamp out COVID in this country, everyone will forget about the 100,000 or 110,000 now people who have died, including Captain Tom. They'll be forgotten about because we came up against it and we beat the virus back, despite the people who seem to be on the side of the virus, which is just weird and vile. But there you go. Saw a funny picture of Stena Ferry deployed to the direct France Island route. It said on the side in big letters, destination Gotland, Swedish island in the Baltic Sea. Yeah, it's just the way it's going now, isn't it? Greater Manchester buses, orange and brown. Yeah, the worst colour scheme ever. In Australia, when they decided to, quite rightly, make plain packaging a thing on cigarette packets, so they didn't have any logos on and things. They looked for the worst possible colour, and they found that olive green was the worst possible colour. But what they failed to realise, because this is why politicians should never make a decision on anything to do with design or the arts or taste or anything, is that our problem with colours, it's not just like, oh, I don't like that colour. It's nearly always, I don't like that colour with something else, with another colour. It looks awful next to that colour. That freaks me out. I don't like that colour next to that colour. Stop those colours from touching. And yeah, brown and orange are very much like that. And also the pattern. So if they made a sort of diamond pattern all over the cigarette packets and it was orange and brown, it would look bloody awful. You'd want something that really offends the eye. But then on Australian cigarette packets, they have pictures of diseased lungs of people's bits that have been taken out of them that have got huge cancerous growths on it, and they put it on the table. They put it on the table, and you'd have to see that picture. As a non-smoker, I'm like, is it bad enough you have to pollute my air and pollute my lungs with your poison? You have to pollute my mind by seeing, basically, these are shock pics, aren't they? And they're there to designed to put smokers off, but they kind of like, I don't know if they work against smokers, but for me, it's just like, will you just turn the packet over? So I'd turn the packet over, and the other side's got a diseased foot or something on it, and I'm like, oh no. Anyway, back to Ireland. Don't forget about possible mutations. Does anyone care if there's a United Ireland, says Kevin Hegarty. As an Irish person born and raised in Dublin, I personally couldn't care less, and I'm not alone. Well, Kevin, this is the mad thing, isn't it? Like, people in Northern Ireland, depending on what side of the divide they're born on, feel more Irish than the Irish or more British than the British. Which is just a weird thing. It's just a weird thing, but it's because they've grown up feeling threatened. They've felt like there's someone out to get them. And there is. I mean, there is. There's people who don't like them simply on the grounds that they popped out their mum in the wrong area of town. And that still goes on to this day. The big schism in Northern Ireland, and it was pushed by the British. It was really pushed by the British. And Scotland's not innocent in this, by the way. They colonised Ireland with loads of Protestant people from Scotland and from England, sent them over there so that they would try and outbreed the people that live there. I don't know. But divide and rule. Let the people fight amongst themselves. I mean, after the uprising against the British in the early 20s, there was a civil war in Ireland. Like, there was a civil war between, like, Sinn Féin and Sinn Féin. It was bloody crazy. Yeah, but that's it. The tyranny of small differences. It's a great essay by Christopher Hitchens before he died. He wrote, I think he wrote an essay. I think it was called "The Tyranny of Small Differences." It's really interesting. You should just dig it out if you can. The destination, this is from Henrik. The destination Gotland boats are rented until traffic picks up in spring here in Sweden. Mike BS says the music was good in the 70s though. Okay, Mike, I'll give you. And the movies were good as well, because it was the end of the old studio system and the rise of the auteur and the sort of rebel filmmakers of the 1970s. But then it ended with big blockbusters like Jaws and, well, Star Wars, and went on to the 80s, which arguably one of the best decades for films, and the 90s as well. That sort of last hurrah of movies coming out that were not based on something else. Do you remember them? Do you remember when a movie came out and it wasn't based on something? It wasn't based on a book, or a comic book, or a TV series, or a movie that had already been made. It wasn't a sequel, wasn't a prequel. It was an original idea for a movie, and it was written as a movie, like Back to the Future and Ghostbusters. Do you remember that? Yeah, great days. Anyway, late again. Sorry, Phil, we were talking about Northern Ireland, but I got distracted by somebody talking about music in the 70s, which was very good. The Dirty Fecker says the plantation was to stop the O'Neills regaining control of the north again. The English nearly bankrupted themselves fighting the 9-Year War. What the Dirty Fecker's talking about there is that it was called the plantation, wasn't it? Was that this was the idea of getting people over to Ireland from Great Britain, and they were called plantation. It's just a weird. It's just an awful history, and I think if I was Irish, I wouldn't want Northern Ireland necessarily, because I know it's going to be a big headache and it costs a lot of money. And you could argue it'd be more money than it's worth. However, I would still want United Ireland, just because I think after 900 years of the bigger island next to you causing trouble, it would be nice to be just free of it. I guess. But if they do have a border poll and people vote for a united Ireland, I mean, does the Republic of Ireland get a say in this? Did they have a poll as well? What did they say? No, we don't want them. It's too expensive. We can't afford to be keeping Northern Ireland always at each other's throats. We're having a great time here in the Republic. It's great now. You can get an abortion and you've got gay marriage, and it's just really, really good. Ireland is just boss now. I mean, it's the best country around these parts at the moment, at least until Scotland gets independence in the next couple of years. I was born in the 70s. I think I came out nice. I was born in the 70s. I was born in 1979. I was a very early millennial. Very early. Andy McAvoy says, it's McAvoy. Andy McAvoy says, Dublin buses until recently were painted dark green. That's scientifically proven to be the worst shade. That gives you a shittest buzz stroke mood. Yeah, not surprised. In Liverpool, the old livery of the old buses before everything got privatised was cream and maroon, and it works really well. If you see any old photos of Liverpool from like the 1950s, you see these old buses in cream and maroon with the overhead railway next to it. You're like, oh my God, is that like America? Is that New York? Is that Chicago? It's like, no, Liverpool. Andy McAvoy says, it's not as simple as that. Warlords have been fighting in Ireland for centuries. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Adrian Wilson, the Miami Showband killings was a UVF attack. I don't know. I must have missed something like that. Kevin says, Graham, I went through those army balls as a child. My uncle was part of the Miami Showband that was attacked by the IRA back in the day. He survived. Just leave the North in UK hands. Well, yeah. But then it's, what do the people of Northern Ireland want? That's what it's going to come down to. What do the people of Kashmir want? Why doesn't someone ask them? I don't know, because India and Pakistan are too busy fighting over them. Why don't they say, hey, you can? Why don't you have a partition and be part of Pakistan in the north and India in the south? Or maybe, do you want to be your own country and do your own thing? I think we'll pick being our own country. Thank you very much, says Kashmir, if anyone bothered asking them what they wanted, but no one has. David says, orange and brown is fab, 70s hippie, get in the groove, Graham. Anthony Langdon says, a forgotten loss from the Irish landscape was the Irish wolf. Well, yeah, no wolves in Britain. We wiped them all out centuries ago as well. But we still got dogs, which are manipulated wolves, inbred, crossbred wolves that we've turned into pugs and shih tzus and Dobermans, and it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Look what we've done. Imagine the ancestral Asiatic grey wolf up in doggy heaven, and he's got to sit there at the gate like this going, what the fuck have these humans done to us? As a little cocker spaniel comes along next to a little dachshund, and he's like, what happened, brothers? What happened? Humans happened. Humans. Bulldogs turn up, they can't breathe because the nose is too pushed in. The King Charles Spaniels spend their entire life in incredible amounts of pain because their brain is bigger than their skull. That's nice. Good on you, humans. Well done. And anyone who says they only eat things that are natural, but they have a dog. Okay, they're not going to beat the dog, but I mean, dogs are not natural things. Dogs are completely artificially made human interventions. Anyway, back to the talk about Ireland. Angel Delight. Oh, he's talking about bloody 70s again. Angel Delight. Early experiments with garlic. Day trips to the countryside in Kent. Free school milk, but no injections at the dentist. Yeah, they just tied a string around your tooth and slammed the door. Mike says, Irish guy I met on holidays a couple of years ago said, Republic of Ireland taking on Northern Ireland would be financially akin to West Germany absorbing the East. Yeah. The thing is, though, that's a good point. The EU helped with West Germany absorbing the East and allowed, obviously, East Germany to become part of what became the EU in 1992. And they'll do the same for Ireland. I think there'll be a lot of support there for Ireland. And if Ireland was really up against it and said, "Oh, we're a bit skint here. What can we do?" Just look across the water to the Atlantic and just say to Uncle Joe, "Hey, can we have some money? Can we have some money?" And it would pour in. It would pour in because, like people in Ulster thinking, well, not Ulster, sorry, Northern Ireland, as I've explained, thinking that they're more British than the British. Irish Americans think they're more Irish than the Irish. That'll be a way out of that. I don't think it's an insurmountable task for the Republic of Ireland to create the United Ireland, but I think that from what I've read, and look, I'm not Irish, I don't live in Ireland, and I certainly don't know everything, but from talking to my Irish friends and looking at the politics over there, it's got to be something that the people want, like an overwhelming majority want. There's no good in if it was a 48% referendum to reunite Ireland, could you imagine? So I think a lot of people that I've spoken to were happy just to wait, and eventually it wouldn't matter anymore. Nations wouldn't be such a big thing, and we're like, oh, well, we're all on the same island. Let's all just band in with each other now. Especially as, don't forget, back in the 70s, Ireland wasn't doing so great. Republic of Ireland wasn't doing so great. In fact, it's membership of the European Union that has helped out Ireland way more than the free trade union with Britain has ever done for Ireland, because you saw in the 50s and 60s and 70s how poor Ireland was. I mean, it really was a backwater. It really was difficult to get any industry, and no motorways. It didn't have that same sort of boom as other places, but now it has had that. And Ireland is what is it? It's the top, isn't it? It's the top country in the EU, I think, for per capita income. I know it's slightly skewed by the tech companies, but it's not bad. Ben Lassler says, when the Soviet Union fell apart, Russia inherited the permanent UN Security Council seat, precedent for England after the UK dissolution. Oh, that's a point, Ben. Yeah, that's pretty bad, isn't it? Yeah, that's one of my reasons for the UK not wanting, why it shouldn't split apart, because we'd lose our seat on the permanent council. Kevin Haggins, here we go again. The bulldog, a big dog in a small dog's body. Yeah, cruel. John Barleycorn says, and then there was the Mark II fork. Are we still talking about the 70s? Fuck the 70s. They were shit. Get over it. The 80s were even shitter. I mean, look at the things people wore in the 80s. Are you mad? Like, why? Why did you dress like that? And then the 90s were pretty crap as well for clothes. There's a great line by, I think, Noel Gallagher, where he said, the 90s, it looked like everyone else was wearing someone else's clothes, which I thought was really funny. Although he is a Brexiteer and can therefore fuck off. Sugar Free says, my friends used to say my car was magic, and you could always find what you wanted in there. Money, Rizzler, backy, and often something to eat. Pick it off the carpet. Brexit Central says, pigeons are the fault of humans, as we bred them from rock doves and they got into the wild and bred like mad. Yeah, flying rats. Great. Anthony Langdon says, Northern Ireland could be on the verge of financial success. They got their act together with their toes in both customs areas. Well, yeah, we were talking about this when I went over to Northern Ireland 2.5 years ago. It could be the best of both worlds, because it is in the single market and the customs union of the EU, and that's why there's a border now along up the Irish Sea. But the DUP and the bloody unionist lunatics are kicking off now about this border. And what I think they don't understand is the fact that the EU had their back and the UK didn't. And is it like a beaten dog going back to its master? Is that what it's like for someone who's a unionist now, or someone who's a fisherman, or someone who's a shellfish fisherman or something that someone who trades with the EU and their business is no longer viable. They still support this guy. They still support Boris Johnson. Still support the government in London. 100,000 dead. 100,000 dead. Trump famously said in 2016, I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and I wouldn't lose a single voter. Boris Johnson has killed over 100,000 British people with his incompetence. 909 people have died in Australia where they locked down, where they took it seriously, where they tracked and traced the people, where they closed the borders and made sure that anyone coming into the country was taken in a hermetically sealed container, a big Tupperware container, into a hotel where they had to wait for 2 weeks looking for all the world like Dave Bowman at the end of 2001 A Space Odyssey. I imagine. I don't know. But the point was, whatever they've done, it's worked. Whereas whatever we've done, we lost another 1,400 people yesterday. And one of the people that we lost today was Captain Tom Moore. Graham, you've got a cool 70s look going on there. Yeah, that's because my hair's too long to not have hair at the front. You see, that's why I'm looking 70s. That was cool in the 70s. This is lockdown hair. Oh man, suede tie. Oh. John Barleycorn says, 1991 was when I turned off mainstream music. I was 23 at the time. Haven't heard anything since to make me regret that decision. Blasphemy. 1991. You're kidding me, aren't you? 1991 was the premiere of The Commitments. Brilliant film. Jordan Jollyfingers says, yeah, I was really into the Dumb. I want to be part of it crowd. Bill Milligan says, Jacob Rees-Mogg is going to be next Prime Minister in March. Bill, I don't think so. Oh my God, that would be pretty horrific. If someone could actually be worse than Boris Johnson and more horrific to listen to, it would be Jacob Rees-Mogg. But we've had rumours of Boris Johnson standing down for months now, and I'm kind of getting a bit sick of them because he's not going to stand down, because he's the establishment. He is the personification of the British establishment. And do you know the thing about the establishment? Why it's called the establishment, why it's known as the establishment? Because it's established. It's not going anywhere. And so that's why the tabloids are going to keep printing out their lies, the Tory party propaganda. That's why Boris Johnson's going to remain our Prime Minister till at least 2024. Because he can navigate through an actual pandemic which kills 100,000 people and he won't lose a vote. He won't lose a vote. He hasn't. And now Starmer's saying, oh, maybe if we shag this flag a bit harder, people will like us. And it's like, who the hell's advising these people? Who is advising them? Anyway, 1977, Liverpool won their first European Cup. Yeah, but I'm an Evertonian, so don't care. Andy McAvoy says, you're optimistic, Graham, in my opinion. Threats of violence from a handful of hardcore paramilitaries can do a lot of damage. That's their MO. Most impact possible for the least risk. Andy, sorry, I didn't go on to the paramilitaries too much, but I think you're right. And one of the most shocking things that was told to me when I was over in Northern Ireland a couple of years ago was that they still have, they put their arms out of reach, but they still know where they are. There's someone who has a map, says they're there in a cache, probably in a, I don't know, sealed vault or something. I mean, if they buried them, they wouldn't work anymore because they'll be all rusty and wet. So I can't see that happening. So, yeah, there must be stockpiles around somewhere in Ireland where these things have been kept and somebody knows where they are. And a couple of years ago, the people who like to cause trouble were digging out those old maps. So, yeah, Brexit has a lot of blood on its hands already as a concept. And it's going to continue to have more and more blood on its hands as a concept as we go forward into this absolute bloody madness, which puts the future of and the peace of Northern Ireland at risk. Why jeopardise that? Why jeopardise the Good Friday Agreement, the most important post-war treaty that Britain has ever signed? and we're jeopardising it for no gain, for absolutely no gain whatsoever. And when last Friday the EU proposed that it would close it would stop vaccines leaving the EU, which would necessitate it to not leave the Republic of Ireland for Northern Ireland. It thought better, the EU Commission, which isn't the whole EU, the EU Commission thought better of it after a couple of hours because it thought, oh, actually, that's a terrible idea. It was shouted down by its own side, not least by the Republic of Ireland, saying, what are you doing, you crazy fools? But but the EU's got that power over us, and it'll always have that power over us. And this is the difference between sovereignty and power. A person who lives up a tree is very sovereign, but the guy at the bottom of the tree with the axe has all the power. And that's what we've done with the EU. And the amount of cajoling and disrespect and demonising of the EU that's gone on in this country over the last 30 years, it's not like they haven't noticed. They might smile and nod and go, yeah, whatever, British people, that's cool. But if it was anyone else, if it was anybody else, they'll be just like, yeah, forget about it. And we've put ourselves in a very, very, very precarious situation here. Naked, top of a tree, screaming how sovereign we are and that no one can tell us what to do. We don't have any idea how to get enough food that we need to keep going. And there's someone at the bottom of the tree with an axe. David said, found a fab way to clean my face mask, dipped it in... where are you going with that, David? Freckle Puny says, sorry, folks, my toothache is getting the better of me. Oh, sorry, Freckle Puny. Good night. I'll get some aspirin or something, or painkillers. Oh, toothache's the worst. Ask Dustin Hoffman. Chubby says, Freckle Puny, if you're into shagging what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Could you ask for an emergency slot at the dentist? Talking about the dentist. I didn't look too good in a miniskirt. Lol, says David. Eskil Ericsson says, how would England, Wales do with food supply if Scotland leave? Or is there another way around? Where's the most agriculture? Well, there is a lot of beef up in Scotland. Obviously, they would... I don't know if Scotland could feed itself. Something I will look into for you. But the population of Scotland obviously is a lot smaller than the UK. And as soon as it leaves the UK, it will rejoin the EU. I mean, there'll be a provisional period where they're getting up to speed and everything. But for all intents and purposes, they will be part of the EU on day one. On day one. That's simply what's going to happen. So I don't think Scotland's going to have to worry about food. Whether England and Wales can keep going, it's difficult to say because we only produce a small amount of our own food when it comes down to actual quantities. What the government like to do is they do tricks. They do this all the time. Whenever they talk about a country that's poor, they won't say it's poor. They'll say its economy is growing. Because no one wants to say, hey, we've just signed this peace deal with this poor country on the other side of the world. Everyone's going to go, what? That sounds shite. Oh, no. We've signed this deal with this emerging country, this country that's got great growth rates around the world. And they do the same with food. So what they'll do is they won't say how much food in terms of, I don't know, calorie content we have. They'll look at it in terms of the farm gate value of the food. So obviously Angus beef is worth more than chicken, for instance, just to give. And obviously everything is worth more than cereal crops, which are worth bugger all, which is why so many cereal crop farmers get such massive subsidies, because otherwise they wouldn't make any money. Like any money at all. So yeah, England couldn't feed itself during World War II when the population was only 40 million. Okay, now we've got better farming techniques, I guess, but there's still an argument that our soil only has so many harvests left in it because we're pulling out the nutrients and There's a finite amount of them in the world, and we don't manage our land very well. We don't manage our sea very well either. I mean, the happy fish that aren't getting caught, I guess. Jacob Rees-Mogg's happy fish. Yeah, they're the ones that aren't getting caught, I suppose. Whiskey and beef, the Scots will be fine. Well, I was going to come on to whiskey. Scotland, actually, in terms of money, so in terms of the value of what we export in food and drink, 20% of it is whiskey, is Scotch whiskey. So, of everything. So, yeah. I think Scotland would prosper as an independent nation. It really would. And I think there'll be a lot of people living in the Republic of Ireland, living in France, Germany, Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, who will want to trade with Scotland, not to be malicious, but just to show the UK, or Wangland, or whatever's left of the UK, the former UK, to show the former UK just what it's lost. In the way that if you ever get dumped, what you really, really want is to get a really attractive new partner, and for your own old partner to see you across the street with your new partner, and you can wave and go, look at my new partner, isn't she lovely? Or he. Well, we've got Facebook for that now, so hey. Anyway, moving swiftly on. James Hodgson says, apropos nothing, Graham. German guy called Mr. Job yesterday. The best analogy ever. You're on a crossing and you get hit by a car, but you're in the right. You're in the right, but still being run over. Yeah. Bayerberg says, Yanks are going to try it first. Good thing we'll be able to learn their mistakes. Fun fact, I bought a knife, Rambo style, about a year ago, just in case. Okay, that's a bit scary. Yeah. I don't think we're going to go off a cliff. And whenever I was interviewed about keeping a no-deal Brexit stockpile in case of no deal, I always said, look, it's not going to get to the point where we're ripping out each other's throats for food. It just won't. It just won't. I'd say that's not a really good explanation, is it? I hate it when people go, oh, the EU will collapse. And you're like, where's your evidence for that? It just will. It just will. So me saying, oh, well, society's not going to collapse. And you go, how do you know, Graham? And I'm like, I just think that. But if I had a bit more time, I know I'm over time, I'm going to talk a little bit more because obviously you missed me for 5 minutes in the middle of this. I think that, the way that the UK is going, it will break up. I think it's going to be mostly peaceful on the island of Great Britain. The island of Ireland, I think we're poking a hornet's nest in Northern Ireland. We're doing it on purpose. We're doing it because I guess there's money to be made out of it, money to be made out of instability. You can bet on these companies to lose. I bet you any money. Jacob Rees-Mogg has put loads of shorts on all of these companies that he knows will go under as a result of Brexit. And we're seeing it like that. The high street has been decimated by COVID. And now we've got this wave of Brexit. So the non-high street shops, the specialist shops and things that sell, companies, I should say, that sell to the EU, they're knackered because there's nothing we make in this country. There's nothing we produce. There's nothing particularly special, except maybe Scotch whiskey, that can't be reproduced somewhere else in the EU for cheaper. Have you ever been to a bar anywhere in the world without Scottish whiskey? Jungle ones excluded. That's from Chubby. No. And I've been to jungle bars. I've been to jungle bars in Papua New Guinea. I've been to jungle bars in Central Africa. I've been to jungle bars in the Amazon rainforest. And yes, there's always Scotch whiskey. And yes, there's always Guinness. How the hell Guinness gets so into everywhere in the world? You can go to the Sani Pass on the border between Lesotho and South Africa, and there's a pub. There's a pub at the top of the pass. Apparently, it's Africa's highest pub. And yeah, they've got Guinness. It's an Irish pub. But yeah, the logistics just make your head explode. Coca-Cola's another one. You can go down a dirt track. You can walk down a dirt track for 2 days through the Bornean rainforest, and you will find a tribe that has been living there for centuries, doesn't have electricity, still using stone axes, and they will have Coca-Cola. And you're like, how the hell? How? When we can't get medicine or vaccines out to these places, how do we get Coke? But, there's money to be made. See William Rees-Mogg, Blood in the Streets. That's from John BC. And you're absolutely right, John, because that is the book written by Jacob Rees-Mogg's dad, William Rees-Mogg. Well, it was co-written by him. I don't think he can write. He's a bit, he's a bit inbred. They all are. Night Watchman says, Guinness gets everywhere like Irish bars do. I've been to 30 countries and can't think of one that didn't have an Irish bar. I celebrated St. Patrick's Day in 2010, on March the 17th, and I celebrated it in an Irish bar in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan. So that happened. There's always an Irish bar. Irish genius, Graham, pure Irish genius. How the EU going to control the Scottish border? I will end on this. Northern Ireland, as I said at the beginning of this, comprises of 6 of the counties of the province of Ulster. And as a result, there's never been a historical border along that border, because the actual other the counties that are outside the UK pretty much completely surround what we know and love as Northern Ireland. And so there's hundreds and hundreds of roads, paths, cycle lanes, roadways, train tracks, I don't know, that link the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. But if you have a look get the OS map out and have a look how many roads there are going from England into Scotland, there's only about 8. Honestly, go and check. There's not many. There's really not many. So patrolling that border, it's not like you're going to have to put a wall up like Hadrian. No, you can instead... Did you know that Hadrian was the first openly gay Roman emperor? Well, you do now. He named a town, I think, in Egypt. Someone needs to look this up. He named a town in Egypt after his husband, his consort, or his fella. True story. Anyway, yeah, but you put checkpoints on those 8 roads. Jobs are good. Jake the Snake in the Grass. Whoa, Brexit. That sounds nice. What? To think... The Good Friday Agreement is held up around the world as a shining example of how you can make the impossible possible, and then Brexit comes stomping in. Sigh. James Hodgson says, traffic to UK to Northern Ireland down 60%. Traffic to EU from Republic of Ireland up 500%. There may be something in this Brexit project feel like after all. OS map of Ireland. Sorry, I meant OS map of Great Britain. Look, it's late. Got a sore throat. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. But, I make mistakes. I went on about how great Angola was the other day when I was supposed to be talking about Andorra. So, yeah. The edit button is a wonderful thing. And this is why people, when they go live, generally try and... not mess up as much as possible, but it is difficult because you kind of trying to read messages, you're trying to make sure that you still got internet connection, you're trying to make sure that you're still getting a nice bounce on your microphone and that the camera's still working, and that, oh god, this is just a nightmare. Anyway, Andy McAvoy says go to bed, buddy. Yes, I think I will. It's 10 past. Right, so I will be back tomorrow, God willing, at 1 o'clock if the BT man has been to put this in. Or woman, I don't know. If that hasn't happened, I will be back at 10. But I'll let you know at 1 whether I'm going to be doing it at 1 or doing it at 10 tomorrow. But there will be a show tomorrow. I'm hoping it's going to be back in its usual slot of 1 o'clock, and that we don't have too many troubles with teething problems with the new internet, because we don't trust teething problems anymore, do we? Not since Michael Gove said, these are teething problems. And then he went, no, they're permanent. That's it now. Sorry, you're fucked. Bye. Anyway, so not you. Well, you can go now because I've finished. So thank you for watching. Thank you so much to my Patreon community for helping me make these things. Thank you to everyone who's got in touch with me. Thank you for everyone who's got in touch via the Rejoin EU website and donated to us doing something on the Rejoin EU website, which we hope to do something next month. God, that was a bit optimistic, wasn't it? But we will be doing something eventually to show that we are still here. We're not going anywhere. And we're not going to shut up and go quietly into the good night. So until next time, I will say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.